Most people hate the word networking. It sounds forced, awkward, and sometimes it just sounds straight up fake as a concept that is necessary in your professional journey and development. But the truth is, residency programs are not picking applications, they are picking people. And because that people component has such a significant impact on the outcome of your journey, it's important that you understand how to do this in a way that still feels authentic to you, where you do feel like the people you are meeting, you're building clarity, credibility, and making lasting impressions that are going to last long after the showcase. In today's episode, I am giving you 5 practical tools that you can leverage and apply today to start having more success and building meaningful relationships that are going to be fruitful for your residency application process. And this is Success in Doses. It is residency season, and I am so excited to be enrolling the 2025 residency cohort right now. All through October, you have an option to join our cohort, the cohort that had 98% match rate last year. I do this through a proven framework that has been tested and stands true and has been able to place 477 candidates last year. I'm excited that we are finally at this stage, and I'm really excited at the opportunity to play a role in your journey to success. Registration for joining the comprehensive program will close on Halloween, October 31st, and we get this thing rolling shortly thereafter. Join today, link in bio, link in show description. I look forward to getting to work with you. Welcome, everybody, to another Monday episode of Success in Doses podcast. I am your host, Saley, and I'm so happy that you are joining me today to talk about one of my favorite things ever, which is networking. It is this term that has so much clout and a lot of mystery built around it, as everybody doesn't find it very, very easy to walk into a room and immediately find themselves in their comfort zone, and how they initiate and maintain conversation and are able to maintain curiosity, all while building clarity and credibility through their engagements and interactions with people they've never met before. Before we jump into today's episode, you know what I'm going to ask of you. This project and this podcast exists solely with the intent and goal of normalizing the conversation around success and what it means for each and every one of us. Residency season, fellowship application season. This is a time where there's so much uncertainty in the air, and I'm really hoping that the podcast reaches a student that feels like they are lost, that felt like they don't have the support and guidance that they need to be able to navigate the residency application process with a lot of confidence. That happens by you liking, reviewing, subscribing, and commenting to what the discussion points are about with each of these episodes that get published every Monday. And so at this time, I'd just like to ask for your support in helping make this podcast discoverable to the thousands of student pharmacists going through this process this year, and see how we can build community and demystify the residency journey all together. So on this episode today, I'm really excited to talk about networking. The first time I heard about networking, it was thinly veiled in this mysterious thing that already had this connotation that it comes naturally for some people and that other people needed to work on it. And that immediately made me believe that I would be somebody that absolutely would need to work on this and understand what it is and its important and place in my professional journey and professional growth process. And so I went to work. And one of the very first things that I learned about networking as a concept is that the term itself, it's so technical, but in actuality, it's just a fancy terminology for the way you meet people and how you maintain those relationships, build those relationships, and think long term about all of the people that you meet and engage with, and the ways in which those relationships may circle back around later to be fruitful for what your professional goals are. And so I think, to me, Once I realized that this super technical terminology, all it really means is that when I meet people, I need to have intentionality and I need to have authenticity and making sure that that person walks away with a sense of understanding and clarity about who I am and what I'm about, and most importantly, what some of my goals and ambitions are. As a student pharmacist, that's where the intentionality and a lot of work went into making sure that my elevator pitch did more than just state with confidence and clarity where I was in school, but that it had those components built in there. That way, after my elevator pitch, there isn't this awkward silence between me and the person in front of me, but there are things that I have given them about me that should be great conversation starters. And so I really want to just start there and making sure that if the word networking sets off all these weird triggers and bells and whistles for you that make you uncomfortable and you think it's such an awkward thing that you have to go through, I want you to think about how is it that you presently build relationships in your life, your everyday life. Let's remove residency out of the mix. Let's remove pharmacy out of the mix. How do you go about building relationship with people? Are you a person that observes people first that are around you? You get to know them and then you open up and reveal more about yourself? Are you a person that goes deep into doing research about certain things so that you feel confident in what you talk about and the things that you share? Because there is room and space for all of those natural talents and skills you already have, and bringing those over to your networking endeavors. But I recognize that social media and unwritten rules about networking on certain platforms, and I'm not going to be vague about this, like on LinkedIn, for example, and the expectations that exist on LinkedIn as a platform for professionalism at all times, you may feel a little less comfortable sending people messages on LinkedIn than, let's say, if that platform was TikTok or Instagram or Snap or YouTube even, and commenting. And so I think it's really important that we kind of understand that it's the same exact thing that has been given a different name and different definitions. And we decided to move the goalpost if you're reaching out on LinkedIn versus if you're reaching out on Instagram about what would be and what would not be allowed or appropriate. So I just want to level set with that, because the practical tools I'm going to share with you today are going to touch on a little bit of all of those things. And my hope is that at the end of this episode, you have a little bit more clarity about what you need to do and how you need to go about developing your personalized strategic plan for how you're going to reach out to these programs, some of which you've never met before, and some of which you know nobody who's in those programs. These are going to be cold emails that you send out. And I want to support and encourage you in the fact that this is a normal part of the rest of your professional career. Emailing and reaching out to people because there is an opportunity at a company, within an organization that you don't know anybody in, but you need to at least throw your hat in the ring for this opportunity. Becoming comfortable with putting yourself out there in that manner, I think, is an excellent thing to be comfortable with when it comes to all of the various things that are super uncomfortable about professional growth and development. Cold turkey emailing people and cold calling people to just say, I see that there's an opportunity at your company, and I just kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about all the ways in which I think I'd be a great addition to your company, organization, or program. So I want you to really keep that in mind, and that I know it's awkward and difficult, but this is something that I think could be really, really great if you started practicing and making the mistakes and errors now and getting comfortable with it now, so that later on your career, it's easy. You can activate these tools and just recall them very quickly. The first practical thing I wanted to talk about with networking is that networking should be about clarity over quantity. I talked a little bit about this in a prior episode as well. Some people pride themselves about being a Rolodex of everybody who is super important in an industry They have that person on speed dial, they have that person's cell number, they have that person's email. I don't think this should be the intent of networking. I think that it is not about the quantity of people and the caliber of people in your contact list, but it's really of these mega stars you have access to and contact with. How many of these folks can you activate and they will actually go to work for you on your behalf or be great sponsors for you? As you are networking, that's what you're in it for. You're not in it to collect contact and access. That's not what it is. It's very important that you get clear on why, right? Why are you reaching out? Why are you interested? Why is it this company or this program? Because that why, if you anchor yourself around it, it helps you figure out what your strategy is going to be in approaching that program director or approaching those residents and making sure that the conversations will actually be fruitful. They will actually be fruitful and helping further your mission for establishing that credibility and genuine relationship with the program. When you know your why, your words carry more weight, right? If you are clear about the reason why you're reaching out and the reason why you're emailing anybody, a person that you've never met before, your words just carry more weight because they are written with so much more purpose and intentionality. I really, really do not want that to be lost on you. So that's the first practical tool here. It's just clarity of purpose, knowing why you are interested in building or establishing a relationship with a program and or a resident within any program. The second thing that I think a lot of candidates make a mistake about is this. The second thing is it's important for you to lead with curiosity and not credentials. I cannot say this enough. If you are a final year student pharmacist that is applying for a residency, I hate to break it to you that there is nothing you are going to say in an email to a residency program director and a person that is a current resident in a program that is going to be so impressive that they are going to be fawning over themselves to respond to you. Oh my God, they are president of this, that, and a third. I need to make sure that I respond back to them immediately. You're not there yet, right? You will have plenty of opportunity to lead with your credentials and all of the things that you've done and accomplished, reaching out to programs and establishing contact in order to build meaningful relationship. That's not this yet. You will have your shot at that. And so I think it's important that you keep the initial communication very formal, but also that you need to understand that you want them to draw from your message that you are genuinely interested, you are genuinely curious about what they do there and what they have to offer there. Or if you're engaging with the resident, you're genuinely interested in what their year has been like, what their experience at this institution has been like, and how you think that there's going to be great value and them sharing their lived experiences with you and how you hope to use this information in order to help you position yourself as an excellent candidate for this program, right? And so that curiosity component is very important. And you know what else is really interesting about leading with curiosity is that people love to talk about themselves and their lived experiences. When you open that door to give people an opportunity to share with you what it's been like for them, they tend to be very, very forthcoming and sharing that with you. And I think that's very, very powerful for you in this information collection phase and this data collection phase of your residency application process. Some really great questions you can ask residents that really lead with curiosity that can help build relationship and help them open up. What's been the most surprising thing you've learned so far about residency that you could have only found out once you got there, right? This requires introspection on the resident's part. Like, wow, nobody could have told me this. This is something that I would have only learned after arriving at the program. They're going to think about that a little bit before responding. How has your year been so far? The interesting thing about this October-November season of reaching out to all of the residents is they should be fresh out of their exams and licensure. They should all be licensed by now or wrapping that up, hopefully, and they can really talk to you about how the time management and balancing being in residency and balancing studying and preparing for exam, what that experience has been like and what they've learned from that, how they feel like they've grown from that, right? And so curiosity builds connection faster than any perfect GPA ever could. The reason why I stand behind that 1000%, it's because you telling me that you have a 4.0 GPA and you think that that's what my program is looking for, it tells me that the people component of selection and the fitness component of selection, you've completely missed your mark on that. You don't get it because you think that this program will only care about academic excellence and exceptionalism, when any successful residency program is going to be very honest with you that more important than anything in your application packet, they are in it for the fitness. They're looking for residents they know that are going to come to their program, do well, thrive there, even stay on and help them grow, develop, and strengthen their program. This is why I think leading with curiosity is so important and asking the residents about their experiences. The third thing that I think is important is make your first message count. This first message cannot be something that you just whip up and send. It really can't. And this is where we get into the formality of the communication and how important is it, right? LinkedIn, people put all this work and energy into the messages they send on LinkedIn and things like that. I personally still think that students who reach out, I'm looking for clarity. The student that communicates clearly with me what they are looking for, interested in, and hoping to get, that student gets a more enthusiastic response and energy to accommodate time on my calendar to connect with them than the student that's just going to drop by with a one-liner question. I'm going to respond to your question because I enjoy that too, and I welcome that as well. But the student with the question and they are genuinely interested in deeper knowledge and understanding about what they are struggling with, even if it's just 15 minutes, I will find that 15 minutes to give them because I can tell that their message, they put a lot of thought and intentionality into their message, right? And this email, this first message you sent to program, I cannot tell you how important it is. It needs to be professional. This is one place where I'll tell you that the professionalism is going to weigh heavily. It needs to be very professional with making sure you acknowledge people's credentials. If it's a doctor, it needs to really say, "Dear doctor, good morning, doctor." I'm not really a fan of hello. I really think good morning, good afternoon is really, these are some of the times where those formal greetings really are important. Referencing something specific on someone's profile. In this situation, for most of you, it's going to be that I've found on your profile that you are currently completing a PGY1 pharmacy practice residency at such and such place. I found on your profile that you are a 2019 PGY1 graduate from such and such program, and I'm reaching out for some insight on what that experience was like for you as a prospective candidate interested in this program. So the current residents absolutely are people to go after, but I also think people that have nothing to lose anymore and they have graduated from the program, what would those individuals share with you about their experiences there? So your message to those people also could be really, really great thing, right? And then keep it short and very personable. People don't have a million years. Your email will be one of several, a few dozen emails that day, that afternoon. I don't care what time of the day it is that they are going through. And so I think be mindful and respectful of people's time and being very straight to the point with what you're writing about and for is another thing that's going to translate really, really well with respect to just that clarity around your messaging. The fourth practical tool is really about following up like a professional. I think following up is not nagging, it's nurturing. I think that it's a lost art. I think people send you a message once, they don't follow up. And I haven't really fully understood yet what is a contributing reason for this and this lack of follow up and follow through. It could be that many candidates don't understand that people that are going through this, like just the way you're going through the residency application process, programs are also going through the process. And so they're doing that and practice managing and also managing the current class. So an RPD may in fact have missed your email, or they may have in fact had every intention of getting back to you, but they could not. And so it's important that you follow up, and you see follow up as something that a burden that really rests with you and not with the program. I usually think that an initial email and a follow-up email suffice. I don't want you to spam anyone. I don't think a program or a person that has not responded to 2 emails after they've been sent about a week or 2 apart, you're going to categorize that as a loss to follow-up. No matter what the reason is, I just don't think a third is warranted without at least a minimum acknowledgement of saying, I have every intention of responding to your email. I'm so sorry about the delay. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Without some type of acknowledgement from the receiver that they've gotten your email, I don't recommend a third one, right? And that's one example of follow through. Another example of follow up that I think many candidates don't really think about is, let's say you establish contact with an RPD or with a current resident, and that resident gives you advice. That resident tells you, I looked at your CV and I think you should reconstruct it and move this section here, this section there, or reformat your CV to look like this and this and this. When you take their advice, or their advice may have been, my co-resident is interested in what you're interested in, and I think that they may have more actionable advice to provide you in preparing you for application season. When you receive advice or guidance like that, and you apply that advice and you apply that guidance, I want to encourage you to always circle back to the person who gave you that advice to tell them how much you appreciate the advice and that you've implemented it and any results you received as a follow-up to that. This says a lot about the level of professionalism here, maturity here, but also it is very encouraging for the person who gave that feedback to know that you kind of came back, right? Your advice helped me reframe how I prepare for my showcase prep questions. And thank you again so much for taking the time and energy to share your examples of questions you asked at Showcase that you thought were really helpful and useful. This is something that a lot of people who are trying to help want to know, that the feedback they give is helpful. Okay. And so the last thing that I think could be really helpful for you this season as you prepare to network and start networking intensely is going to be visibility, right? So staying visible but not overbearing is very important. So there is a very thin line between being visible and overbearing. And here's what I mean by that. And this usually tends to happen like at mid-year, where candidates will surface everywhere. I mean, they are so passionate about a particular program that if that program is having a reception that is open invite, they'll go to that. You should. They'll go to the showcase and they'll spend a lot of time at that program's booth, to the point where like the conversations can even transcend the program scope and become like personal. They'll go to the residents' poster sessions. They'll go to the RPD's talk. They'll go to the residents' podium talk. So, I mean, like if there was a local residency showcase, they'll show up at that. It becomes a little bit too much, a little bit cringe too. I have to keep it real with you. And so the visibility, it needs to be strategic. It's not about just surfacing everywhere the programs surface. And that's how you think you're making an impression by telling them how badly you want to be here. But I think if you are strategic about where you show up, then it's very weird, the human mind. We translate it as, yes, they are strategizing, they are planning. These have been very calculated moves that have placed them in all of these different places, where each time at each of these events, you yourself can feel like you're gaining ground. You're meeting a different person. You're having a different conversation. The conversations are getting more deeper. They're getting deeper and more meaningful. Yes. But if you just make yourself visible every single place, everywhere, I don't know that would be a strategy that I would encourage and or promote. And so the key here is that also visibility today has never been easier. It's never been easier. You can start posting on LinkedIn. Whether they see your LinkedIn post, it isn't about whether or not they see it today or tomorrow. But the reason why posting on LinkedIn, I think, is so powerful is anybody who goes through your LinkedIn page, they should be able to see growth. They should be able to see all the ways in which you accepted challenges and stretch yourself, right? And so that is a component of visibility that I think a lot of people undermine and underestimate its power, but it's a real strategy. Making sure that your LinkedIn serves almost as your professional journal of everything, all the uncertainty and everything you're sharing it. It's a great place to increase visibility, right? Respectfully, and I can't say this enough, right? Respectful consistency builds reputation, right? Reputations are built and solidified through consistency, right? So the way you show up is important. How frequently you show up is important, but the consistency with which you show up and the manner in which you show up, that's where the magic is, because that consistency, that's what's going to lead any program to believe this isn't just a role they're playing. It's not a persona. This is exactly who they are and how they operate. That credibility thing gets baked in there as you build that reputation, right? Visibility is not just about vanity. I unfortunately have to say this because in a social media age, we just believe that the vanity of it all is what's important. No, but visibility, the consistency with which you show up, it tells people that you're serious about your craft. You're serious about becoming better and you're serious about what you are pursuing. It is the biggest gift of consistency and discipline through this process because the going is going to get hard. Nobody should lie to you about that. It will get hard. I don't care how confident and competitive of a candidate you are, but pushing through all of that doubt and uncertainty and staying disciplined and committed to the journey, that's going to be the biggest differentiator. And that really is all I have for you this Monday morning with practical things you should be doing to improve or demystify networking a bit. Because here's the truth. Every residency candidate, every single one of you this year, you have one job. That is to get noticed, and that is to be a memorable candidate. That's it. Once you are able to capture a program's attention, retention is almost impossible at that point. Like it really is in your hands at that point to lose it. But getting a program's attention and keeping a program's attention, that's where the work is. And a lot of what happens with networking and how it's such a powerful tool is it helps with that getting the program's attention and getting you noticed component. And that's why I thought it really did deserve its own targeted conversation because it's been baked into a lot of different things, but that's it. You're in it to get noticed. And if that is true, you cannot be comfortable just disappearing in the wallpaper. You can't be comfortable anymore with just being one of the thousands that are going to show up at the showcase. You have to figure out other ways in which you are building that clarity and credibility in the background so that in your own special and unique way, you are getting noticed and you are staying memorable and programs are feeling like you could be a fit for them long before they lay eyes on any of your application packet. And to really be honest, start small. Set goals. This is success in doses, right? Set small goals incrementally. Sending 20 emails out every day, not only does it burn you out, but if out of those 20 emails, only 2 people reply, it can be very demoralizing. So I just want to encourage you and knowing that this is a long game, but this is a skill you need to develop today because it's super helpful. I hope that this episode really did help you reframe your understanding of networking. And if it did that for you, help me get another person that may be having this challenge to discover this episode. Like, share the episode, listen, rate, and review the podcast to make us discoverable this year. I am on a mission to really reach more residency candidates. I can't do that on my own, and I need your help. As always, success is obtained by small incremental steps that you take every single day. They all add up to something big. And defining what success means to you in that journey where you're taking tiny little steps every day is imperative. I appreciate you being here, and we are in it now because the pharmacy hunger game is in full swing, and I appreciate you taking the time to start your week with me and I'll see you next Monday. Have a wonderful week. Bye. It is residency season, and I am so excited to be enrolling the 2025 residency cohort right now. All through October, you have an option to join our cohort, the cohort that had 98% match rate last year. I do this through a proven framework that has been tested and stands true and has been able to place 477 candidates last year. I'm excited that we are finally at this stage, and I'm really excited at the opportunity to play a role in your journey to success. Registration for joining the comprehensive program will close on Halloween, October 31st, and we get this thing rolling shortly thereafter. Join today. Link in bio, link in show description. I look forward to getting to work with you.